I read in the morning, I go to class, I read in the evening, and then I go to bed, and then I read in the morning, and I'm just like constantly reading these like very dense academic texts. Why am I feeling so weird? Very weird vibes right now. Hi, my name is Lindy Jung. I am a science fiction and fantasy writer, and welcome back to what is technically episode 2 of the Project Crypts writing vlog series. For those of you guys who are new or who just need a little bit of a refresher, in episode 1 we talked about outlining and planning this book. I was kind of showing you guys a bit of my process for that, and in this episode we're going to talk about drafting, or it's gonna follow me as I draft, and also do some other things because I'm just absurdly busy, but I really want to find time to write, and I feel like writing vlogs are a good incentive to get me to write, weirdly enough. Project Crypts is a slow burn gothic fantasy with a fair amount of romance in it. I still am like hesitating to really call it a romantasy because as I plan it more, it becomes less about the romance and more about the politics and the themes. It basically follows a young woman who gets caught up in the hijinks of these feuding ancient houses of necromancy. It's frothy, it's full of ghosts, it also is full of like yearning in that very old-timey gothic way. It's very full of kooky quirky characters, which is one of my favorite things to include. The world is also very loosely based on Venice, not specifically like Italy, but the history and the geography of Venice. So now that the outline is mostly done, I still feel a little bit dissatisfied with the way that some of the plot points play out, but I feel like I have a pretty good sense of the story, where it's headed, what I'm trying to accomplish with it, and the general themes that I want to explore and hopefully solidify as the process continues. For theme writing, in particular, it's not something I can plan personally. Like, themes have to come about very organically. And usually what happens for me when I'm discovering a theme in a short story or a book is that I have like a 1-word or 2-word idea. Like, for example, for Moths, it was very much like academia and inequity and generational trauma. As I wrote the book, those themes became more honed, what I wanted to say about them became more clear and decisive. I never feel like a theme should be hammering in like a moral message, but most of the time I feel like when I enjoy a book that is very thematic, the viewpoint on that theme comes through very clearly, and that viewpoint in particular doesn't really come to me until like halfway through the first draft, even the end of the first draft, and then I'll just revise with that theme in mind. Maybe it's not the most efficient way to do things, but I found that this is like the most organic way for me to explore a theme rather than just trying to like hammer in something from the beginning. One of the things that I personally love about writing and the writing process is that it's often really cathartic for me, especially for like something longer form like a novel or a novella, which I've never written a novella, so I don't know why I included that example. But writing Moths was such a cathartic, not necessarily joyous, but just like a satisfying feeling for me to go through and explore those themes through the lens of the main character and through the lens of this world, because I was able to have that cathartic, organic experience as I was writing the book. Like, it was happening as I was writing. The themes at the end of the day became really strong, so I feel like that's a really thematically strong book. I do think there is a little bit more work that could be done in terms of developing the themes so that they spring out on the page, but in terms of like the themes that I want to get across, coming across for the most part, I think it did really well. And I want the same for this book. I feel like I'm having a harder time sort of starting out. Whenever you're starting a new book, there's always like one aspect of it that compels you to write it. And in this case for me, it's very much the world building. I love the world building for this book. This is probably the first book where I went really deep into the world building before starting any drafting. But world building and theme, it's a little bit harder for me to marry those ideas together from the get-go. Usually for me, theme comes more across with like character arcs, so it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But anyway, yes, we'll be starting the first draft. No, I won't be following the outline to the letter because stuff changes. I like to be flexible. Generally speaking, my goal is to finish this first draft by my birthday, which is October 10th. It's currently June 26th, so that gives me like more or less 3.5, 4 months. I don't know if that's like a super feasible goal for me right now, especially with my master's degree. I've started and stopped this draft a couple times, so I don't know if I'm in the best writing headspace right now, but in the past couple days I felt really motivated to write, and I do want to dive into this project, and I am excited for it. For this week and a little bit of change, my goal is to finish the prologue and the first chapter. I will be streaming on Saturday, so I'll be recording a little bit of that. By the time this video comes out, I'll be doing like the July streaming schedule as well, so that'll be available for you guys. Since July is Camp Nano, I hope that I can get the brunt of my drafting not done, but like get a lot of the drafting out of the way during that month. but we'll see. In terms of like general updates, yes, I've been insanely busy with school. I read in the morning, I go to class, I read in the evening, and then I go to bed, and then I read in the morning, and I'm just like constantly reading these like very dense academic texts. But I've also been quite busy with querying, which I'll have a real update for you guys soon, but yes, I did start querying mods just a couple weeks ago. I don't know, I won't say anymore. The other thing that I want to get done in this next couple weeks is edits on a short story, a secret project that I'm involved with. So basically there's a lot. I'm feeling the pressure a little bit. I would like to get at least half of the short story done by the end of this week. I would also ideally, hopefully, love to get the first chapter and prologue for Crypts done by like 4th of July roughly, so that way I can finish this vlog around then. I have a nice little stretch of a couple days in that time where it's basically like, I'm treating it like a 5-day weekend, so I'm just gonna go home. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Right now, I'm gonna pack my stuff up and actually head over to the library and get some stuff done there. I really feel like I want to be taking more advantage of like campus resources and campus spaces. When else do you have access to so many third spaces and so many different spots to spice up your day for no pay other than the thousands of dollars of tuition that I'm paying? That's pretty much what's going on today, and I'm going to pack up my things and head out to the library, and we're gonna get some work done. Bye. Sunday, June 30th. It is like 1:30 in the afternoon. I woke up so late and then I didn't get anything done for so long. I'm gonna turn this so you can't see my closet. I've had a slow start to the day. I managed to finish like all of my schoolwork, which by the way, when you finish schoolwork, it just comes back. Basically, I'm never fully done with my schoolwork. And I feel like that has been just eating into my writing time, but also my writing energy. This is gonna be a theme. You're gonna hear me complain about this all year. The reading and the essay writing and all of that is taking up my limited brain space slash energy, where now I'm finding that it's harder to find like creative voice. So I'm trying to find a way basically to snap back into that lush gothic fantasy voice that I want for this book. Trying to find a book that lines up with that can help me kind of reclaim that voice has been difficult for some reason. I think I'm gonna go back to like reading something like, you know, the gothic classics, so like Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights. I don't want this to come off as I want to read those types of books so I can copy that voice verbatim. It's just to like shift the gears so the voice in my head isn't so academic, isn't so like research paper tone and style. I think it's really hard to get into the flow and maintain the flow when you don't have solid feet down for the voice. Reading and vocal exercises like that are the main way to kind of get voice back, if that makes sense. And I am a very voicey writer because so much of my writing comes to my head directly in the form of words. Voice is super important and voice is one of my strengths, but because I am so susceptible to changing modes, it can be really difficult and challenging. I also did like scrap and restart the chapter a couple times. I feel like I do like the start now consistently through pretty much every book I've ever written. The story started in the wrong place. It always starts too soon. I don't believe in the rule that you should start your story 15 minutes before the inciting incident, but I do think you need to start relatively close to the inciting incident, and that's always been difficult for me because I am really into my setups. I really always like my concept and my premise and my characters, so I want to like give them that space to breathe, but a lot of the times it's too much space, and that's something I'm running into with mods as well. But with this, I feel like I found a pretty good starting off point. There's a decent opening scene. I do worry that it's like a little bit boring. I'm hoping that I don't see the need to like rewrite it again, but I think it's like okay. I am having fun with the world. There's like multiple cultures present in the world of this story, so I'm having fun like developing the differences between those and the intersections between them. A lot of this book actually is starting to have to do with diaspora diaspora identity and things like claiming culture, navigating your identity, and also like the thing that a lot of diaspora kids go through where you feel like you have to pick one and then you go really hard in one direction. So that's something that's really interesting to me. I am kind of starting to explore different ideas surrounding like identity and cultural identity and multiculturalism. I don't know if it's going to be the central theme, but it's definitely important to the main characters. So, and as for what I'm actually going to do today with the rest of my time, I am going to seek out some spots in the outside world to write because I need to. I haven't eaten that much today, but I'm also not hungry, which is interesting. I'm just kind of hoping to sink into this book basically for the rest of the day. My priorities right now are kind of like school and like taking care of myself, and then editorial obligations, so like this video and then my Patreon edits, because that's a service that I provide to other people. I want to kind of prioritize that over myself. And then it's kind of like Crypts right now, and then it's sort of like the short story and other works, and then somewhere at the bottom right now is mods. Not thinking about mods, not doing mods. But that's like kind of sad. I don't really love that balance. I think eventually I'm gonna have to kind of pare back on editorial stuff just for a little bit so I can prioritize writing, because that is something that fulfills me and gives me joy in my life, which, not that school doesn't give me joy in my life, but it's not like a self-fulfillment need so much as like something I am doing to get the degree I want and the job I want. But yeah, so I have to really kind of think about rearranging my priorities and figuring that stuff out. And this is already getting too long-winded of an update because there's not that much to update. If you guys are like word count interested people, I have around 700 words in this manuscript, which is not a lot, but considering that I've like deleted and rewritten multiple times at this point already over the past week or however long I've been doing this, I feel like it's not that bad. My goal today is probably to try and like double this word count, so I'd like to get to 1400 to 1500 words. I think I'm going to head out in a little bit, so you'll see a little bit of footage of me running around, and that's it. Bye. Hi. It's me again from a different angle. One thing that I didn't mention that I kind of do just because it's like interesting and not super usual for me is that most of my writing for Crypts has been in bed on my phone late at night. For some reason that has been the most productive time period and setting for me. I don't know if that is something that other people do, so let me know, like, do you guys ever write on your phone late at night, like your actual draft of your actual book? Because I do use my notes app to jot down ideas and stuff, but never like fully write. So that's an interesting thing that's come up in this process so far, and I just wanted to share. Bye. Hello. It is Monday, July 1st. I'm so tired. So yesterday I crossed 1,000 words in this first chapter piece that I've been writing, and then I realized that I'm still starting the scene too early, so I cut all of it. And today is the first day of Camp Nano, so I'm gonna be recording my word count. I figured clean slate, go back and churn through the words that I'd written and probably pick out the point and the scene that I actually want to start at. I was like reading through that first chapter, and I started with the main character having a conversation with one of her parents, basically, who is on their sick bed, and the parent is like warning her not to use her magic. And I was like, this is not a very intriguing start. I feel like it's difficult to establish the context of the main character has this ability that she's not supposed to be using and she doesn't want to use it, but of course, you know, for the inciting incident she does end up using it. I hope that wasn't too vague and also made sense. So it's like a weird thing. How do I establish that context without taking up too much of the time? And I feel like the way I'm gonna go about it is she's just gonna use it, and you're gonna kind of see smatterings and hints that she's not supposed to, but it isn't until she does the action that like the consequences and the context kind of kick in at the same time, like after she makes that choice and you realize, I mean, you kind of get a sense before, but after it happens you realize the full gravity of it just in the way that she does. I think that is gonna read a little bit better and serve as a more immediate, not exciting, but more of like a feet down, let's get running, start to the story. Just getting to the point where I'm kind of frustrated because I do keep scrapping different versions of this first chapter. So I'm hoping that Camp Nano will kick me into gear. I think this is the last time. Like, unless something goes horribly wrong, I am not gonna edit the opening again in this drafting process. I'll do it in revisions. That's what revisions are for. And maybe it is going to be one of those things where I don't fully see what I'm supposed to be doing with that until like more of the story's written. Oh, it's just kind of a pain. So yeah. Sorry I look so tired. It was cute though. My partner was dropping someone off at the airport and then like called me at like 6:30 and was like, do you want to get breakfast? And I was like, yeah, let me just roll out of bed and put on some pants and let's go. But I will go through today and I'll update you guys. Hopefully if I get some stuff done with this chapter, but we'll see. It's been a doozy. But yeah, bye for now. Hello, it's currently Wednesday, July 3rd. It is the third day of Camp Nano, so I'm gonna give you guys a little update. So I haven't written today at all. I've been pretty busy with various things. So for Camp Nano, my goal is very, very reasonable. I know this is turning into a Camp NaNoWriMo vlog, but I'm trying to do 25,000 words in Project Crypts first draft in the month of July. So that's about like 800-ish words a day. And I started out strong. I had 977 words on July 1st, which was Monday. And then yesterday was a little bit of a flop. I had 574 words because I came back like here for the holiday sort of week. So now I need to write. So to catch up today, I need 809 words. I think I can finish this first chapter today. If I get this amount of words in, I will be done with my first chapter and we will be done with the vlog. So I really would love to do that. Unfortunately, I do have a short story. That short story I've been trying to work on. I've been neglecting it severely and I haven't worked on it. So I might try to work on that, but I am getting more into the groove with this book, with this voice, with the story and the world. But I keep going back and forth. Like, I don't know if I want it to be first person or third person. Both feel a little bit distant. I think it's just the writing style I've chosen for this. I just feel like I have so much to do this week. It's kind of stressing me out. So I'm gonna try to finish this chapter today or tomorrow. Tomorrow's the 4th of July. I've written the introduction. I don't hate the introduction. It kind of just goes directly into that call to action beat, sort of the inciting incident. I'm about to write the inciting incident that kicks off the rest of the story. I came up with a midpoint twist, or I was like thinking out loud, and my partner recommended a midpoint twist that I actually really liked. I mean, I'm not anywhere near the midpoint, but it's kind of good to keep that in mind. This just feels like a very exploratory phase of the writing process. So I'm trying different things. I'm seeing what sticks. I'm learning more about the characters and the world they inhabit and what they're like. It's very slow. I do think this is a project I can stick with for a while. I can kind of tell because the ideas kind of won't stop. With mods and with other projects that I've been like successful at finishing, not successful in any other sense because none of them got published, I would get like this constant flow of ideas for little things. Like I'd be in the shower and randomly be like, oh, what if that character did this or had this trait? Something similar is happening with this book. The ideas will slow down eventually. Usually it's like the first 30 to 50,000 words is full of fresh ideas. And then by that point, I'm pretty rooted in the story and I kind of know where I'm going. Very much like an exploration, discovery, draft kind of vibe right now, which is great since I have the outline. But the outline is a roadmap, and once I kind of figure out where the entrance for the highway is, then I can just drive on the highway for as long as possible. Then I can just drive on the highway until I reach my destination. That's kind of what this is feeling like. So yeah, that's the update. Sorry that this has been kind of a weird circular sort of process so far with not a lot of forward momentum. It's just kind of the reality of how I'm writing lately. And I like it. I like that discovery, exploration aspect of things. So I'm having a good time and that's kind of what matters the most. All right, so I will update you guys hopefully in just a little bit here. Bye. Hello, hello. It is currently 4th of July, so July 4th, and I did just finish the very first chapter of Project Crypts and a little bit of the second chapter. I've been able to hit my word count goal pretty much every day this week so far in this first couple days of Camp Nano. I just hit under literally like 999 words for today, so feeling really good about that. And we're at about 3,500 words total for the draft. What does that mean? That means that so far I have the very, very short, like literally one sentence prelude to the book, which is what I've been doing instead of a prologue, because I just felt like a prologue wasn't where I wanted to go with this book. I kind of wanted to like jump into things faster because historically I've learned that I have very slow openings because I like to do a lot of setup and establish character stuff and world stuff. I just am looking for a way to do that more efficiently. What has happened here in this case though is that I've rewritten the first chapter a bunch of times, as you've seen. I am pretty satisfied with where it leads to, but I do think I'm gonna end up including a little bit more setup. The thing with that though is that I really like the current length. I tend to write very meaty first chapters just because I do have that slow lead up to the inciting incident, but this is around 3,000 words, which I feel like is very much a sweet spot for a first chapter for me. I guess I'm kind of at a place where I don't quite know what I want to do in terms of the pacing of the story. Like, obviously some stories are a little bit faster paced than others, but I think this is going to be a slightly slower book, so maybe all of my back and forth on the first chapter not starting quickly enough or getting to the point quickly enough is going to be moot anyway. I'm just going into like complaints now, but I'm also kind of struggling with the voice for this. I haven't been able to read recreationally in a long while, ever since I started school basically. So I do think that my writerly voice is kind of suffering because I've just been suffused with all of this like academic writing and academic voice. So I'm very much looking for book recommendations that have that lush, gothic, opulent, kind of overdone, almost purple prosy or straight up purple prosy voice. If you guys have any recommendations for books like that, especially with a darker tone, and especially in adult speculative fiction, definitely let me know in the comments below and I will check out your recommendation. Other than that, I do have a couple of titles on my list that I'm going to be checking out and reading to sort of get primed for this, but I think the goal for this Camp NaNoWriMo is to get a fair amount of this first draft written and explored so I can kind of get that discovery part over and done with, because this is a bit more of a discovery process right now. What happens in the first chapter is that immediately the main character is approached by someone who needs help and she helps them, but then it doesn't go exactly as planned and she ends up revealing herself and this power that she's kept secret, and that is the end of the first chapter. And now we're getting into the second chapter where the consequences of that news getting out start to hit and it's really like kind of a bad time for her. This is in part sort of a haunted house book. Part of it is very much like she's at a weird mansion with a bunch of very wealthy, established nobility, very eccentric people. Eccentric is actually too nice of a word. They are maybe just straight up insane. Something that I just want to share because I think it's funny is that part of the vibes of the family that she ends up living with, some of their relationships and how they present themselves and how they function in this world, it's like very much based off of the Kardashians or the Kardashian Jenners. I don't watch their reality show or anything like that, but lately I've just been in this spiral where I've been watching Kardashian Jenner analysis videos. So I'm very interested in the Kardashian Jenner clan, I guess you could call it, because they are like weird nobility in our weird modern times. Yeah, so not directly inspired by the Kardashian Jenners, but this weird family of necromancers is very much gonna be in line with that idea of a very big, very dysfunctional family that has maybe more money and power than they know what to do with, and also are all kind of terrible to each other and feed off each other's insecurities and are not the best. Yeah, I just thought that was funny. So that is pretty much it. I really just wanted to kind of have you guys follow along as I wrote the prologue-ish, which ended up not being a prologue, and first chapter of this book. I'm okay with what I've got so far. I'm gonna let it sit for a little bit and definitely going to just like keep moving forward and keep kind of going through the draft to see what happens at this stage of drafting. I really feel no rush to complete this. I know I said that my soft deadline for a first finished draft is like my birthday in October. I think that's very feasible, but the quality of the draft that I churn out might not be the best, and that's fine because revisions, but it does feel good to kind of just have that first chapter out of the way. Even if I'm not 100% satisfied with it, I know I'll go back to it and tinker with it a lot. So as for the rest of this writing vlog series, I am not going to be vlogging consistently. I'll probably just be vlogging at like crucial points of the writing process. I do plan to do a couple more vlogs just throughout July, Camp Nano time. So keep an eye out for those. Other than that, I am also going to be doing live writing streams pretty much every weekend throughout July as well. So if you're interested in getting some work done, chatting, asking questions about writing and other things, then feel free to stop by. The schedule is posted in my community tab, but already I've had to change a couple of dates because of just other stuff that's been happening. And that's pretty much it. So thank you so much for watching this video. Thanks so much for following along, and I hope these are illuminating or entertaining for y'all. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.